The purpose of this training is to show you how to use vendors in VISCO. Vendors are also known as suppliers. They are the people that you purchase your product from. First of all, go to Sales and Purchases and click on Vendors. This shows you the vendors screen, and the first thing we're going to do is add a new vendor. So click on Go and type in the vendor ID. And click on Add Vendor ID. The vendor ID is a unique number that belongs to each vendor. The vendor page is displayed, and the first tab that you see is the General Information tab. You also have Comments, Contacts, Products, Documents and Images, Offers, Purchases and Manufacturers. The first tab we'll look at is the General Information tab, and this is where you enter the name of the vendor and the address. You can also add the other information such as phone number, fax, email, manufacturers if the vendor uses them, transport days, discount, payment terms, and your default trader. The default trader is the person that usually places orders with this vendor. And it's helpful to put this information in here because whenever you do a purchase order for this vendor, this information will come up as a default. And it will save you time when you're doing your purchase order. The next tab we're going to look at is the Comments tab, and here you can add information useful for yourself. Contacts is where you enter the people that work at the vendor or your contacts at the vendor. You click on the Contacts tab and then click on Add New Vendor. Type in their name and any other relevant information. If you click on Copy Address, it's going to give you a list of addresses, and you can select the address for the vendor, or you can put in a different address if this particular contact is somewhere else. Add New Group. This is a contact group which is maintained in the system tables. You can set up different groups for different contacts, such as birthday groups, religious day observant groups, and so forth and so on. Once you've finished adding your contact information, you can click on Add New Contact and then click on Done. And here you will see a list of all the contacts that are associated with this vendor, with their useful phone numbers and email addresses. The next tab we're going to look at is the Products tab, and this is where you can add a product that you usually purchase from this vendor, and this will save you time when you're doing your purchase orders. So you click on Add New Product and you go to the product scan here, which will provide you with a list of products. Select the product that you want. Now, if the product name is different for the vendor, you can put in the vendor's product name. You can also put in the default payment terms for the vendor. And once this has been done, you can click Update. The next tab we're going to look at is the Documents and Images tab. Now this is where you can attach a document to the vendor. For example, you may have a product's catalogue, or you may have a map of where they're located if you ever visit them. And to add a document, you click on Add Document, and this Add Document window pops up. The first thing you have to do is select the document type, and then click on Browse and this will take you to your C drive or your server, wherever you keep your relevant documents. Select the document, click on Open, and then click on Upload. And the document has been added here, so you can add multiple documents here. The next tabs, Offers and Purchases, are actually history tabs. The Offers tab shows you a history of all the offers associated with this vendor, and the Purchases tab shows you any purchases you have made from this vendor. So you can actually look back at the history of all your transactions with this vendor. If you want to compare a current purchase order with a previous one for the same product, you can do that here. Manufacturers is where you add any manufacturers that are associated with this vendor. And this area here is where you have any custom fields that you have requested us to set up for you. So the default VISCO software will have this layer of tabs and this layer of tabs, and these tabs will be custom fields if you have requested them. Once you have set up your vendor information, you click on Update, and that vendor information is now saved to the list. The next thing we're going to look at is viewing an existing vendor. So let's start from scratch. We'll go back to Sales and Purchases, and we'll pull up the vendors, and say you want to view the vendor that we've just put in. Okay? You know that the vendor ID contains the word stroll, so you leave it on vendor ID, you put in contains, and you type in this word or part of the word, and you click Add Filter, and it pulls up the vendor we've just put in. We're going to view the information by clicking on View. Now in this view we cannot change any of the information because we're just viewing it, so we can look at whatever's on here, and then we can click on Back. If we wanted to change the information for an existing vendor, we'd click on Edit. Now we can update anything we need. Then click on Update on any changes that you've made. Now if you wanted to delete the vendor, you'd click on Delete. You can only delete a vendor if you haven't had any transactions with that vendor. If you've already done purchase orders and offers, then you can't delete the vendor unless you delete that other information first. Okay, so that concludes our training on vendors. If you have any questions, you can contact support@ventureinformationsystem.com, and we'll be happy to reply. Thank you very much.